Hi everyone, and welcome back to Procast Solutions channel. I am back with another question for you all. Have you ever felt like you've been doing way too much for people and not getting enough back in return? Like you've always been available, always understanding, always giving, and still you ended up feeling drained. Or maybe you tried to set a boundary and immediately regretted it, so you took it back. Today, I want to talk about boundaries and not just what they are, but when to set them, when to strengthen them, and when to loosen them up a little bit. So, what are boundaries? Let's start there. Because many people have heard the term boundaries, but a lot of people don't understand what it means. Boundaries are not walls, they're not punishment, and they're not a way of controlling other people. Boundaries are simply guidelines for how you allow yourself to be treated, and they mark the space between what is okay for you and what is not. And truthfully, if you don't define that space, other people will. And I know sometimes it can be hard to set our boundaries and assert them, but I think that's because a lot of us have not been taught how to have boundaries. We've been taught how to be nice, how to be understanding, accommodating, and self sacrificing, especially as women, especially in those helping professions, or especially when you're used to being the strong one. And so when it comes time to saying no, I can't, or I won't be able to do that right now, it can feel a bit uncomfortable. And sometimes it can feel wrong. But I want you to know that it isn't. And you're not being mean, you're being clear. And that's okay. So, how do we know that it's time to set boundaries? There will be a lot of signs, but I'm just here to give you a few. One of the signs that you know it's time to set boundaries is when you feel resentment building up. When you start thinking things like, why am I the only one doing this? And why are they always asking me? Or why can't I just say no? Resentment is often a sign that there was never a boundary in place in the first place. Another sign could be that you feel drained after interactions, and not just tired, but emotionally depleted, like you've been giving so much of yourself and there's nothing left. Another sign could be that you are consistently overlooked, like you've been showing up for people, and when it's time to do for you, there's silence, no one's around, there's just a whole bunch of tumbleweeds rolling through the place and whatnot. But I think the biggest sign is pressure. If you feel like you have to say yes, you're not making a choice. You're missing a boundary. So when do our boundaries need to be strengthened? Like, when do we need to reinforce them? Because setting a boundary once may not be enough. Sometimes you have to strengthen it. And we know we have to do that when people keep ignoring them. Or when people keep asking us the same thing even after we said no. And I know y'all heard me say no. Or when they keep testing them. You know, people love to be testy. But they test them just to see if you'll change your mind. But sometimes we have to notice that the person crossing your boundary is actually you. You set them and then you take them back. But we have to know that when strengthening a boundary, it's not something that you just say, it's something you stand on clearly, calmly, and consistently. And that could sound like, I'm not available for that, or I won't be able to do that this time, or I understand, but my answer is still no. No long explanations, no overly justifying, no guilt-driven yeses, and give some eye contact too, but just straight to the point. Because sometimes it's okay to soften our boundaries, because boundaries were not meant to make us rigid, they were meant to protect us. And we know it's okay to soften them when there's real trust between you and someone else. When someone consistently shows up, they respect them and they care. Flexibility can be given there. It can also be given when the choice is truly yours. There's no pressure. You said yes because you wanted to, and that's the bottom line. And also, compassion calls for a little flexibility. But compassion is not self-abandonment. You can show up for someone else without losing yourself in the process. And I think that it's important to make a distinction here. Let me be clear that lowering your boundary is not the same as losing one. Those are two different things. One is intentional and one is reactive. And sometimes I feel like people feel like if they set boundaries that people will leave or walk out of their life. And I'm here to assure you that that is 110% true. And honestly, you should open the door for them wide and kick them out if you have to. Because the people who walk away because you set boundaries, majority of them were only there because they benefited from you not having any. Because the right people will adjust to them, they'll respect them, and they will not punish you for protecting yourself. At the end of the day, boundaries were not meant to push people away. They're about making sure you don't lose yourself while trying to hold on to other people. And if you don't take away anything from what I said today, take this away. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to protect your peace. And you are allowed to decide the who, what, when, where, and why someone has access to you. Because clarity is knowing where you stand, and stability is having the strength to stand there. And that's just what I wanted to talk about tonight, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.